In this teaching worksheet, we're going on to more symbols, and then this will be, as we learn more symbols, right? All the previous symbol will be layered in, so it will be a bit confusing. So you have to like memorize what does each of the symbol means. So at the end of it, there's a table to summarize the symbol. Okay, so in this question, in this concept number 10, we got this thing called the universal set. Think about the universal sets as the bigger set. That's why the word universal. Okay, so the notation is this. Is the letter E. Okay, or some people write it a bit more cursive. Okay, so that is the universal set. So it is the bigger set, and a question must give you the universal set. So the question must give you the bigger set. And with that, you are going to work with the universal set to get other small sets. So for example, in example 17, so this is a set that contains apples, pears, and oranges. So if I'm going to use a universal set, that means it is all fruits. It's a variety of fruits. So the biggest possible set will be all the fruits. And then I'll pick these three to be in set A. Okay, so then this one, 3, 6, 9, 12, that looks like the multiples of 3. So the universal set is a multiple of 3. So for a multiple of 3, it can be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Okay, it can go on. So it's actually a very huge set. It's just that from the very huge set, I take the only these 4. Okay, so the universal set is the bigger set. Every question that you look at, you should look at the universal set, because the subsequent description will be based on the universal set. If you misinterpret the universal set, that will usually affect the rest of the question. Okay, so later on we'll see this kind of question. And here, we're going to draw the symbols. We're going to start drawing Venn diagram. So just now, I have been drawing circles, and I put the elements inside. Okay, so that is a way that I will draw my Venn diagram. So it's usually standardized that we use a large rectangle. We will use a large rectangle for the universal sets. So it will usually look like this. So this is the universe. And then from there, right, subsequently, we will use a circle, or we use oval to represent other sets that are in the description. So most of the time it's circles or ovals. Sometimes in some fanciful question, you can end up using triangle. Okay, so that is a standardization. We do not use a big circle for the universal, so don't go and change it. Don't go and change the convention. Okay, so with this, right, we're going to have new symbols, and these are the more frequently used one. Okay, so in concept number 12, we're going to learn something called complement of A. So the complement of A is like this. So it can be these two. So this one, we call it A prime. This one, we call it A complement. But they meant the same thing. They meant the same thing. They represent the elements that are not in A. So they represent the elements that are not in A. Okay, so if you look, this is the universal set. Okay, and set A is 4, 7, 9. So what is the A prime? A prime is the element that's not in A. So you cancel out 4, 7, 9. You got 3, 5, 6, 8. So that is the A prime. A prime are the elements that are not in A. So if I'm going to draw it right, it actually looks like this. So remember the rectangle is for the universal set. So this is my universal set, and out of which, right, this is my A. Oh, sorry, this is my A. So the elements that is outside A, can you see? The elements that is outside A are what we call A complement or A prime. So I usually use A prime. So it depends. It doesn't matter. They are the same thing. So in words, right, we will describe it as elements that are not in A. If it's on a Venn diagram, I will mentally think that it is the elements that are outside A, out of A. Okay. So there is also sometimes when we investigate two sets, we don't find any matching elements. That means, right, like for example, in set A, if you look at set A, these are all the even numbers. So these are all the odd numbers. So you realize they will not be having common elements. So they got no elements that are the same between the two sets. So we use the word disjoint. So in a way, they got nothing to do with each other. Okay, so these two sets are called a disjoint set. So how a disjoint set look like? They just look like two circles that mind their own business. So they just look like two circles that mind their own business. They don't have anything in common. If there is anything in common, there will be an overlap in the circle, which we'll investigate in the next concept. Okay, so let's go on to the next concept. These two concepts, right, are the one that is a bit confusing to some students. So in concept 14, we talk about union. So the symbol is like a letter U. So when we say we want to union, right, maybe you want to think about combine all elements. You simply combine all the elements. Okay, so you just combine all the elements, but when you're combining the elements, right, you don't repeat same elements. So later on, I'll show you. Okay, but then, right, how will it look like? What do we mean by that? So, like for example, I combine A and B. So I can combine like this. So everything, all the elements will be combined. Okay, so it can be later in the third teaching worksheet, there is a shading idea. So when we want to combine all the elements, it's everything inside. It's simply everything. So union is like we just combine all the elements. Okay. Now the next one is the intersection. So intersections are the common elements. So they are the overlap elements. So the intersection is like a letter N. So this one is like the common elements, or what we call the elements that overlap. So later on, I'll show the numerical values. But then, right, if I'm going to draw it, the common elements will be the part where the two circles overlap. So the two circles have some common part. So that's where they like merge. So these two can easily get confused. These two union and intersect symbol. And if we put it together with the A complement, it gets even more confusing. Okay, so make sure you understand all these features first before we got some numerical example to show. So this will also be closely related to the third teaching worksheet where you will learn the shading.